DreAllDay.com.
Now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. What is that, Dre? That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unified philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is, we're on part 3 of our ongoing, now concluding mini-series, You Must Know People. In all of these spaces, I already gave you the background on this. You listened to the last 2 episodes. I don't need any background here. Let's get straight to it. Picking up on point number 7. You must know people in all of these spaces. Number 7 space, in which you must always know people, is the government. You got to know people who work within the government or know the inner workings of the government. In this sense, we're talking about people who have had elected or even non-elected positions in the government, whether at the local level or the district level. You need to know these people, maybe even the federal level. These people will know the insides of how politics work, not just the legal side, but just politics, period. The inside of how politics work, why they work that way, and what you can do to navigate whatever circumstance you may be involved in. To give you an example, there was a TV show called The Wire that was it was on HBO, it was based in Baltimore. Some of you may remember the show. There was at one point this guy named Cuddy. He had been incarcerated and had just gotten out of prison. And he decided he didn't want to go back into the street life. He decided that he was going to try to go the legal route, and he was going to start a boxing gym. So he found a venue, a physical location that he could use for his boxing gym in the ghetto, in the hood where he came from. And he then was told that he was going to have to get some permits and some documentation to make his whole situation legal. So he goes to the downtown offices to get all the paperwork that he needs so that he can make sure he has all the right permits, et cetera, to run his boxing gym business. And when he goes to the downtown offices, the clerks who work at the office, they start handing him a stack of paperwork. You got to get all these things filled out and notarized. You got to pay this and that. You got to do all these things in order to open up your facility. He's looking at the stack of papers like, this ain't going to work. So he goes to a guy that he has come to know who is a church pastor. And church pastor kind of knows everybody everywhere. Church pastor is a good person to know. He's not on my list here today, but he's a good person. A religious leader is a good person to know because they know everything is going on in their community. So this guy, Cuddy, who is not liking how it's looking, how he's going to open his boxing gym, he goes to the church pastor and tells him, hey, things didn't go quite how I thought they were going to go when I went downtown. Church pastor says, well, I know somebody who could possibly help you. So the church pastor walks Cuddy to another downtown office where he meets with a local congressman or senator. I think the guy was a congressman, or maybe he might have been a city councilman. Whoever he is, he's a politician who is an elected official, and elected officials know everybody in the city. So Cuddy gets introduced to this guy in town, and the church pastor says, hey, Cuddy here is trying to open a gym, and he went to the downtown office and it didn't go the way he thought it was going to go. And the city councilman smiles and looks at Cuddy and he says, well, did you use my name? And Cuddy, he's looking at the guy like he doesn't understand what he means. What do you mean I use your name? And the guy just laughs and he says, look, he grabs one of his business cards and he scribbles something on the back of the card and he says, go back to those same offices tomorrow and hand them this and see how things go then. And then it's the HBO show. So then you get the cutaway, and the next scene you see, Cuddy is standing inside of his gym facility and is open, and he's got a bunch of kids in there learning how to box. Long story short, because he knew the right person, he was able to cut through all that red tape bullshit and get done what he needed to get done. This is what happens when you know people in the government. And when you know no one, you got to fill out all those papers. And everywhere you go, you're going to get slowed down and more paperwork and more red tape and more nonsense when you don't know anyone. When you know someone, all of a sudden everything becomes real easy. It's like the easy button. What store was that had the easy button? Was that Staples? You push that little button and that was easy? A little red easy button? When you know people in the government, that's the easy button to getting shit done in your local community. If you know no one in the government, that's the hard button to getting shit done in your local community. How many of you want to get something done in your local community? Okay, well, you better know somebody. You better know somebody. All right. These people know the insides of how it works, why it works, and what you can do to navigate any situation you're in. Whether you are a fan of governmental politics or not, and I am generally not, we can all agree that politicians still, they have reach. They can get things done that other people can't get done. And sometimes you may end up in a situation where you need help from somebody like them. They can make a phone call that gets answered, whereas your phone calls don't get answered. Their text messages get replied to immediately, whereas yours never get returned. So you need to know these people, even if you don't generally like the industry that they're in. Again, you may not like the medical industry, but you still need to know some doctors and nurses. You may not like the educational system, you should probably know some teachers. So again, you don't have to be a fan of these spaces. You just need to know what's going on. And the best way to know what's going on is to know someone who's on the inside doing the stuff that's going on. Okay, so you may at some point need some resource that a politician can supply. So if you're trying to get a permit, a grant, a permission, anything you like to do that involves the public sector, you will need to engage with the government in one way or another. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. Y'all know what they said. Point number 8. Today's topic, once again, is you must know people in all of these spaces. Finance. You must know somebody in the financial space. Again, you are human. So while you could go an entire lifetime and live happily ever after without ever engaging with the government in any way or really needing them in any way, when it comes to the financial space, every one of you somehow, some way earns, makes, spends, and cares about money. Can we agree? Okay, everybody here has some connection to money. Whether you want more of it, whether you got a lot of it, you're trying to go get it, you're at work right now earning it. Everybody has some connection to money. You should know someone who knows some things in the financial space. Ideally, someone who actually works in the financial space. If they know things, you don't know things until you actually done them. So when I say know, I don't mean they went to school and they read a book and they got a degree. That doesn't mean shit. I mean, I'm talking about someone who is professionally working in the financial space. Every one of us deals with money on different levels. Some of us are more interested in it than others. Some are more engaged than others, but no one can say they're not interested at all because food, clothing, shelter all cost money. So you should know someone in the financial space who can answer your questions and or at least give you some useful advice when it comes to money and investments and or point you in the right direction to where you can get some advice. Anything that involves your finances, all right, you should know someone who knows, who can answer questions on that and can point you in the right direction. Again, we all need things that cost money, and food, clothing, shelter, basic human necessities all cost money. Most of us go to work. For the bulk of our waking lives, we spend working, and we do this not because we love the work, although you may love the work. We do it because we get paid for it. If you weren't getting paid for it, you probably wouldn't or couldn't spend as much time doing it as you do, even though you may love the work. So money is part of the equation, whether you like it or not, whether you want to admit it or not. As I explained a few episodes back, you should know the most important laws of economics and how those laws apply directly to your money. Making money, keeping money, growing money, spending money, acquiring more money. Also, something that I've heard from many people who are several generations older than me, I've had many of them say this to me, is that they wish they had thought more about their finances in their youth such that they would be in a better position by the time they became older. I've had many people who are 2-3 generations older than me tell me that and offer it in a form of, offer it kind of as advice to me. I've heard this from so many people that I'm going to pass that along to you. And people in the financial space, they understand this very well. They understand how to help you with this. And again, they can start pointing you in the right direction informationally, even if they may not be able to actually do anything for you, or they're not in position to do anything for you, or you're not in a position to have them do anything for you. They can at least start telling you, hey, here's a way that you should start looking at this thing. I've given you all one example of my friend Dan down here in South Florida. He works in the crypto space. And this is not exactly what I mean when I say finance, but it is a fine enough example. When I say finance, I'm talking to someone who was like an accountant, an advisor, a tax attorney, something like that type of person. But what I'm going to tell you here about Dan is also still a good example. I remember in 2018 or so, I was talking to him and he was like, yeah, I work in the crypto space with some company and we do crypto coin and all this stuff. And this is when crypto was relatively becoming a new topic in the common vernacular amongst people who don't pay attention to that stuff in detail, such as myself. And I had heard of crypto and I heard of Bitcoin, but I didn't know that much about it. But I heard people talking about it. And I said, well, he said, yeah, he invests in Bitcoin because he works in Bitcoin. And I said, well, how much money should someone invest in Bitcoin right now? You would just give someone advice. And he just laughed and said, man, as much as you can. And at that time, 2018, I think I gave you all this example a few days ago, but let me check it right now because I'll give you the same information I gave you then. Some of you may not have been listening on that episode. I do remember saying it, but let me check. So Bitcoin right now, the day that I am recording this, Bitcoin is at $82,000. That's the value of one Bitcoin. So back in 2018, when Dan told me this, in 2018, let's see, crypto was at, and I'm just looking at a random time, looks like the highest point in 2018. Bitcoin was somewhere around, not crypto, but Bitcoin was somewhere around where's that number at? $8,600 for one Bitcoin. $8,600. What I tell you Bitcoin is at today, the day that I'm recording this, and know the price is always changing. Right now, Bitcoin is at $82,493. Do you understand the increase? How much Bitcoin has gone up since then? That's how much Bitcoin has gone up since 2018 when he said invest as much as you possibly can. That's an example of knowing somebody in that space. If you know the right person and you listen, I listened a little bit, but not as much as I should have, then you can put yourself in a better informational position to take advantage of it. Point number 9, today's topic, once again, you need to know people in all these spaces. Number 9, technology. You need to know people who know something about technology. Since you are listening to this show right now, you are already actively engaged with technology. And as you all know, it is further and further encroaching on our lives, and there's not much any of us can do to stop it, even if we wanted to. It will be more and more technology running more of what we do as we advance in life. And what I suggest is that you get good at utilizing and taking advantage of this technology to have it working for you rather than trying to stop its approach and eventually finding yourself fighting against the current. You don't want to fight against the current of technology. You want to ride the wave of the current of technology. And that requires you knowing what's happening, knowing why and how you can take advantage of it, and giving yourself, again, informational advantage, which allows you to take action confidently, knowing that you know what you know. And you're going to drown trying to fight the current of technology. You're not strong enough, fast enough, and none of us individually is smart enough. So understand how it is being used. Understand how it will apply in your industry. It's already being applied, by the way. If you didn't know, yes, it is. You just don't know about it. And how you can start using it as an offensive weapon on your team rather than playing defense against it and have it fighting against you. You don't want to fight against it, as I just explained. Once you start thinking this way, you will see how certain connections can make you better, faster, more effective, how it can help you produce better results for the people who you serve. For example, I'll give you an example. I was on YouTube the other day and I saw this video that said motivational video, et cetera, et cetera. And I started listening to it, and I could tell, I started to get a hint as I'm listening to it. I'm like, this person who is talking in a motivational video, I heard of this person before, but I never heard them put words together in this exact way before. It sounded just like them. Like, it sounded just like they were talking. And there was just a snippets out of things that they had said in the past. But I'm like, this seems like it might be generated. But again, I have a really good ear for this stuff. So as I go and look at the details of the video, it says this is heavily generated by artificial intelligence, et cetera, et cetera. And the thing is, I've heard other videos of people, like, these days you can get on YouTube and you'll see a Napoleon Hill video, motivational video, allegedly. And he's talking about social media and smartphones. Napoleon Hill died way before social media and smartphones even existed. So it's obvious that that is a AI generated thing, even though the voice sounds pretty good. As I was listening to this video, though, that I'm referencing, this sounded so much like the person. I'm like, this sounds, if someone doesn't know, because I've listened to enough of the person to know that they didn't say these things, but as I listen more to it, I'm like, this sounds so much like them that someone who doesn't know as much as I know would definitely believe this is real. Like, this is really good. So what it got me to thinking about was what software can do something like that with my voice? Because if they can do it with a sample of this guy's voice, I got plenty of samples of my own voice. You're listening to it right now. So if they can mimic this guy's voice with, he got less content than me, then there's no way they couldn't be able to mimic my voice. So I started looking into these AI softwares. As a matter of fact, I got about 6 tabs or 6 links that I need to open and actually start exploring these things and see how well they do. And what I'm thinking, depending on how good they are, is that eventually maybe I can create a whole podcast episode that's just created by this AI that's using my voice. It'll sound just like me. Same cadences, same pauses, same tonality, same everything, same pitch, same everything. But the material will be something, let's say something that I wrote down, and then it goes and creates it. And I never actually said it, but if you didn't know what I was doing, you would think that I'm actually saying these things. And you can do that with YouTube. You can do it with a podcast. You can do this with, just imagine, audiobooks and a whole lot of other things moving forward. And again, this kind of thing is exciting to me because I'm looking at ways I can ride the wave. Again, not fight the current, but ride the wave. Because if I don't do this with my own voice, somebody may go grab my voice and do it for me, because the person whose video I was listening to, or the person that was purported to be, he didn't make the video. Somebody else took his audio and made the video themselves. And this person's big enough that I guess it doesn't matter. But I want to do that for myself. I don't want someone else doing it for me, using my voice, and they get all the benefit. I want to get the benefit, start using it myself. That's an example of how you can start using these things when you're thinking about how you can utilize them rather than trying to fight against them. So technology, this is one that all of you are going to be engaged in, whether you like it or not. You're already engaged by the fact that you're listening to this. All that said, let's recap today's class. This is part 3 of our mini series. You must know people in all these spaces. Number 7, the governmental space. There are people in government who can get things done for you that you can never get done for yourself just by using their name, mentioning their name, and making the right phone call. And it cuts through a whole lot of red tape and a lot of bullshit. Number 8, finance. All of you deal with money, food, clothing, shelter, all cost money. All of you have money, all of you want money, all of you spend money, all you make money. You need to know people who understand money and who do work with money and in money all day, every day. They will help you. Number 9, technology. Everyone is engaged with technology. You are listening to this through some form of technology right now. Technology is getting bigger. It is further imposing on our lives. You should learn how to use it rather than try to fight it. All that said, everybody, Work on Your Game University. How do you start using these things and making them work in your specific business for your specific use case, specifically to how it applies to your life and your career? Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Have me work with you directly to show you exactly how these things can apply in your business and exactly what to do, when to do, where to do it, and how to do it, with me helping you all along the way. That's all at workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre, all